Paramedic Supervisor, Betsy McDavid. Good
Hey.
morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
I'm great.
I think you were last with us during the pandemic.
Yes, we were social distancing.
We
We,
were.
didn't have to, I don't think we had masks on, but I think we were like 20 feet away from each
Yeah.
other.
What? Just briefly, what was that a blur like that
It
whole
is.
era?
Like when you just mentioned it was 5 years ago, in some ways it feels like it was just last year. In other ways it feels like it was a lifetime ago.
Right.
But I will say it did some damage to EMS, that's for sure.
For sure.
All of us, for that matter.
Yeah.
But it was particularly hard for frontline people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all your
Healthcare.
work, of course. But during the pandemic and ongoing, it's you never know what you're pulling up to ever.
No.
What's that like?
I think that's one of the things that draws people to EMS is to have something different every day and to have the opportunity to like be surprised and be engaged in a different way. But I mean, it can be scary. We're in a pretty protected area as far as we have fantastic police officers, which you just had on, and throughout the county. And whenever our dispatchers, they take detailed notes, and if they sense that there's any kind of danger or insecure or a not secure scene, they bring help. So we're not usually alone,
Sure.
but you never know what somebody might, not everybody has the best intentions.
Of course.
What drew you to EMS?
Well, right around the time that I was in high school, when you're in your formative years, you're trying to decide, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know what I want to be. I'm like 16, right? I was hit by a drunk driver in a car accident and had extensive injuries, like, 32 fractures,
Oh my God.
crushed my skull, brain injury, a lot of injuries. And the paramedics truly did save my life. So at that point, when you're trying to decide what to do with your life, and I had surgeries, and I got a hold of my EMT report. I was actually going to Jackson College at the time, and read my report, and I was like, now that is something meaningful, and it's something I can start working toward today. And I just wanted to pay it forward because
That's
I
cool.
wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those paramedics
Yeah.
putting themselves in that
Were you
position.
ever able to meet those paramedics?
Yeah, actually, Mark is, he actually is a physician's assistant, and he retired from full-time firefighting. I think he moved on to Delta or Delhi, I can't remember.
Okay.
But he worked out at Michigan International Speedway, so we cover the races out there and faster horses too. But he works out there, and so we shared that story a couple of times. And the other young EMT, who unfortunately had passed away since then.
And I'm sure you have countless stories where you're on the other end of that, and that's got to feel good.
Oh, it's wonderful. Actually, it's wonderful. The good calls certainly wipe out years of the bad
Yeah.
calls. I've got to meet and have some relationships with some people who have survived sudden cardiac arrest, including a little one.
Oh wow.
So it's
you,
very rewarding.
so you supervise the community paramedic program. What is that?
So community paramedics, I think they've been around about almost 10 years in the country. We have been running our community paramedic program almost that long, at least 9 years. We have about 10 community paramedics. You see our unit there, you often see it driving around town. It's not a full ambulance. You obviously can't put a patient in the back of there. But our community paramedics, they don't just they do respond to 911 calls if they're the closest and the most available, but they are into preventative health care.
Okay.
That's Wayne Gooding, one of our full-time community paramedics.
I know Wayne.
Yeah, he's
You've had Wayne for like
Wayne-
50 years.
Wayne
Yeah.
is a legend.
yes, Wayne, and so is Steve Jascott. They were actually our stars of life, and they got to go to Washington D.C. In 2024 with Brian Walls, our vice president, and they deserve all the kudos and hurrah that they can get.
What are the main issues that you assist with?
I want to say that they fill gaps in healthcare.
Okay.
So often medicine is very confusing, especially if you're sick and you're in the hospital, and you're getting a lot of information thrown at you in a very with different language that you've never heard. And I think people sometimes leave the hospital and they're not sure what they're supposed to take. You know, they might have been explained it in great detail and given a packet and everything, and they might have agreed and nodded that they understood at the time. But by the time they get home, they don't know who they're supposed to see, what medications they're supposed to take. They're like, if they might have missed something, or like, they might have told the hospital that they had a nebulizer machine at home, but they don't. And it's not that they were like trying to lie or anything. It's just they're overwhelmed. It's a time of overwhelm, and your brain doesn't function quite so well when you're overwhelmed. So we get into the home, the community paramedics get into the home and find out what they need and help them recover so they don't have to go back to the hospital.
Yeah. Odds are you probably won't ride in an ambulance in your life. It's very, very rare. But if you do have to call an ambulance, say for a loved one to come to your house, what should you expect? What should you do to prepare?
Ideally, you have an address sign on your house because not everybody does. That seems like a common thing. Not everybody has a well-lit address sign. Have the door unlocked if you can, and have like a medication list. Just be available and paying attention. If your house is way off the road, if you have more than one person, a spotter is great. Because being able to find your house is a pretty important part. But we also do have assistance with that, with the fire departments. The fire departments in every township of Jackson, they know their streets inside and out. And if there's something hidden, a hidden drive, they're always on the radio telling us. So it's a good partnership.
Well, we appreciate all that you do, and everyone on your team at Emergent Health Partners and Jackson Community Ambulance. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Betsy McDavid, Community Paramedic Supervisor with Jackson Community Ambulance's Community Paramedic Program. More of the morning show after this.